Howdy y'all, Sin here, and today I am joined by the one and only Toaf.
Hello.
And so Toad informed me about this amazing idea to where you can actually favorite skills with like ranking. So that's what we did. We made a tier list of all the PD skills. And obviously this is our personal opinion, and this is obviously to be based on like
And the only
competitive play.
correct opinion.
Not sure about that. We'll see in the comments. But basically, just because a certain skills and a certain, like, let's say a D skill, doesn't mean it's totally useless, even though a majority of them are totally useless. There's still some D skills that are, like, can be used. But with that, I think we should get started off with Psycho Knife. I don't think there's much to be said here.
Yeah, it's good. Just consistently a good skill. You can use it pretty much in most hands, like off the bat. You can spam it. Like there's literally nothing bad about this damn skill.
Psycho Shell, just one of the best shields. Literally will protect you
Easily.
from most things. It will only lose against like Tiger Strength, Fire Gehenna, and even
Muramasa.
it also loses to lasers just because it's a 3 cost, so it's not as spammable with the aura.
But like it will block almost like 90% of skills.
Yep.
And even if you have like a Psycho Spear and it breaks Psycho Shell, you won't even take extra damage. Like it's just so strong and reliable. It's also a shelter.
Then I don't think you have to say anything about Vibe Laser. It's just the most
It's
spam
Vibe
move.
Laser.
And you're thinking it's only a long range move, but if you know it's like one of the easiest moves to manual, which makes it even more scary.
It's it's a long, medium, short range skill. That's how fucking dumb this skill is. Okay, maybe not medium. I think
It
that
would be
one takes a
hard
little
if
more
you actually
skill.
hit medium. That's like skillful.
Yeah, that actually takes a bit more skill. But short, literally just like aim anywhere on your screen most of the time, and you'll hit someone.
Hey, give me one. I thought I disabled Discord notifications. Now I'm getting bothered. Streamer mode, activate. All right, there we go. Now we're back. All right, then Ice Sword. It's just, I mean, you're frozen. You can't literally do anything except for dodge for 10 seconds. So it's just really
The only
good.
reason this skill isn't, I mean, it already is one of the best skills in the game. The only reason it isn't already like the most busted ass skill ever, because it already is, but like even more, is because of that penalty.
Yeah, I'll say the aura cost. Same thing with Lightning Sword.
Yeah.
And this one's a little bit more weird just because I think I think it is useful at the fact that it knocks down the opponent just because it gives you more time to like set up for another go around to erase a shield. And also if you somehow go -1, you can actually combo Lightning Sword into Lightning Sword if they have 2 shields.
It is nasty when you do that. But yeah, you can.
Then Fortress, it pretty much blocks every like skill in the game. It's weak against lasers, obviously, just because it's 4 cost, but a lot
There's
of the
only
time,
like
yeah,
4 shields in the game that aren't weak to laser.
yeah.
So that's a very small con.
Then Turb, it's just since a lot of the time Tiger Strength's mainly ran, and then sometimes you have to worry about dash. This is just the best answer.
The bullshitinator.
Yeah. And
The
Purify,
bullshit removal.
it kind of just
It's
removes
the
anything.
same side. It's like the other side of the same coin. Curb gets rid of all the bullshit that's held in hand. Purify gets rid of all the bullshit that has been used.
Yeah. It also doesn't help that you can like this is easily like one of the best ways to just make a game go back to neutral. It's really annoying. And speaking of annoying, we have decoy. I think this is just one of the most spammable, and it's in the fact that it refreshes every time you hit the opponent.
The small, like, it has 2 cons, and that's pretty much it. The 2 cons are being that you can either, like, just jump it once, which they still get hit. Like, it still, like, succeeds in doing what it was meant to do, but it's just, you can't combo.
Yep.
And it's easily countered by Glacial, which is one of the best shields. So most people are running it anyways.
Hyper kick. This one's like that. It's like really deceptive with its range. Sometimes you
And
think you're
hitbox.
you're medium, and it'll like fucking magnetize all the way over towards you. And it's just goo. Guard, it's just also like pretty much the best shield and key since, you know, 2 cost 6 defense. It's a brush, so it's fast with its animation, unlike barriers. So that kind of gives it a plus.
Yeah.
Then Dragon Slayer, it just gets rid of a defensive skill and it also just has the craziest homing. It's still not perfect.
Yeah, because close range you can walk it, but it is kind of deceptive because it's not a medium, it's actually a long.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why it's medium.
Yeah, I don't know why it says that either. I was gonna say you can use this literally like max range on like highway.
Oh yeah, I don't think there is a range limit. Like you could be off the map, it'll still like be able to hit. Fucking crazy.
Yeah. Then memory lapse. If we're talking about like top of competitive, I think there's a reason why this skill is banned. It pretty much literally neutralizes every skill, skill except for 2. It makes literally just
like
it's
Arrow of Artemis and Rian are the only. Photon Berry as well.
Yeah, Photon.
Those are like
that's
the 3 skills that you can use, which is fucking crazy when there's 300 skills, 300 more.
Yeah, and this makes it to where makes only like 2 to 3
fucking
active.
Stupid.
Tiger Strength. I mean, +2, spammable, infinite use.
Yeah, isn't beaten by a Purify.
Yeah, I'll say it's a little bit annoying when you're getting purified, but the only counter to this is like a turb. And then dash is easily the best.
Situation.
Like, not only is it good for offense, it's good for defense, it's good for pickups. It's one of these, it's just super annoying.
It's fucking flex tape. It's just it can save your family.
It could probably save your family. You can just dash into the burning building and dash right back out.
Yeah. It's fucking crazy.
Alright, obviously Rian, I think it's just
Rian is good because of the skill that is right below it. Dark Hole and Flash Hole. Those skills and their existence and then also memory lapse are the reason Rian is so good. Because if like array shields weren't as prominent as they are,
yeah, Rian would probably still be. I think
but it's not like
it would be an A.
because the homing's crazy. The homing's crazy.
Yeah,
but, like it is an S. But the fact that you get to keep it in an erase shield like meta is fucking insane. And it also has good homing. Like really good homing. Probably one of the best in the game.
Then Dark Hole, I don't think Flash Hole's an S tier IMO just because I think the fact that it's easily breakable. A lot of time you're going up against stats. And you should be patient when you're just like throwing stuff at it. So a lot of the time Flash Hole is gonna just get broken. But to Dark Hole, this stops like Tiger Strength, like lasers pretty easily, and Blaster. It just stops a lot of good stuff in optical. It also stops Rock Shot too. I think it's just really good. Then Lunar Force, you can maybe argue this is an A tier, but I think it's just generically like the most useful enviro that anyone can like use in an arsenal. And then Armoros, it pretty much negates literally every like stat in the game except for Tiger Strength, and that's just, it's ridiculous. Then Psycho Burst. Oh, we're in A tier already. That's all the S tiers. Oh my goodness.
I feel like a lot of the A tiers could easily blend into S tier.
Yeah, you could definitely make the argument that they can go into S tier. Yeah. Psycho Burst, it's just a very good ender. You can end games fast with this. It's a good counter against optical. The only issue is that if people
also one of the few skills that will like consistently be able to destroy any shield.
Yeah, this is like literally infinite damage technically. But I think the issue is that sometimes your opponent just gets unlucky and they want to stay at like a low aura count. Because that sometimes just happens. Like some people will just stay at 4 to 6 aura, and it's kind of annoying when that happens because you can't break their shields that easily, and you also just can't do that much damage.
Which is remedied by Quantum Amp.
Yeah. Then Rock Shot, I think even though it has its issues with it being a parabola, it's still just very good in some certain cases, and it's just also just generically good. I mean, 3-4 is a pretty good stat line.
And then also is pretty good that people can't like. So it's easy to like walk, but sometimes it'll just like I don't know how to explain it, but the
Yeah,
homing is
yeah. I was gonna say it. That's the issue with like any
the
parabola is that
parabola homing,
it's
yeah,
either the like the homing's really bad or it's really good. Like it's or
yeah.
sometimes or there's just certain case scenarios where it's just nasty. Like if you're trying to go up the escalator and someone just has a rock shot, you're never getting up that escalator. You're always gonna get hit by this like damn move. And then railgun, it's like easily the best bravery skill. It's really fast, and it's also you could technically manual it in close range. It's not. Also, I just realized why is it medium?
Hmm?
It says medium for its range. I just realized that.
Which one? Rockshot?
Railgun.
Oh no, railgun. Yeah, railgun's another weirdly ranged skill, even though it reaches to almost the heavens.
Yeah. Also, I just realized why is Twist Laser not here? But Twist Laser, I think we also put is an A. I don't know why it's not appearing. This thing is clearly bugged, but you know it's whatever. I think they're both just very good, spammable moves, very aggressive. Yeah, obviously, they do lose to like obviously Flash Hole and Dark Hole and Glacial Wall, but still just a generically good move. Same thing with Vibe Blaster. It's pretty much with Tiger Strength breaks every shield, right? I was about to say it breaks every shield that's like used. Then Flame Sword, you could definitely argue this should be up there with like Ice Sword and Lightning Sword just because it's consistent. But I think just because it doesn't have any like other stats with it, it kind of makes it just A. Then Glacial Wall, it's fine if it breaks just because you know 2-3 isn't the strongest shield to kind of have, but it does counter a good amount of skills. Then Wall of Fire's just generically good. Return to Nature, it's not only starting point, but it's also Purify. It sucks that it's a one-time use, but it's kind of useful in those cases. Friendship is easily one of the most annoying skills just because if you use that one arsenal, then it could be kind of unstoppable.
That
And you can just
one
create
arsenal?
a machine. Yeah, I'll say you could kind of create monsters with this skill.
Yeah, there's certain arsenals where like if you just bring it and specifically build your arsenal towards helping your teammate like build up, friendship is just probably the one that you're always going to see. Even if you bring like a variation of that arsenal, friendship is for sure gonna be there.
Yeah. Then Heat is also just a good like stat booster. It's obviously not as good as Tiger Strength just because you know it's 4 cost and it can get erased and it can also be armorosed. So
But it has you don't have to consistently like
yeah,
take time.
it doesn't
to
take
use it.
take up a hand slot. I think you can, you know, you're not taking
That
up a
too.
hand. Or backflow. I think this is easily one of the skills that like at the highest level is really nasty.
But
Just
like on the lower levels, it's honestly like a C or like a B maybe. Like if you don't know how to use Aura Backflow, you're not gonna get the most out of it. If you know how to use Aura Backflow, you are going to be hitting some nasty fucking clips most of the time.
Yeah. Then we got Lucifer's Arrow. It's the best rank because it penetrates. The only issue is that you always have to be at 7 health for it. But I mean, it's also very spammable since it's a 2-3.
Mm-hmm.
Then Flash.
And on maps like Pano, it's
Yeah.
just fucking crazy.
Yeah, maps on Pano. Then Refinery is also kind of goo.
And the goo.
Then Flash will, you can maybe argue it's S, but I think the issue is that it breaks pretty often. There's very
I
few
think it's S,
cases.
but A is also pretty fine. It makes sense.
D-Trick, this is easily like one of the best endgame skills just because you can pretty much cause like stalemate situations to like stop just because of the skill. Same thing with, I mean, Vicious Balance also just kind of changes the game state. It's just, you know, even though this is like easily one of the best skills, if you like coordinate very well and your opponent doesn't like notice it, it can easily like pretty much make a game unwinnable in certain scenarios.
Yeah, take for example like Dance of Death. If someone's running Dance of Death, where you need to be at 5, or else pretty much just lose the game. If someone has a vicious balance and they're good at managing, or like at least decent at managing a way where they'll see that you go up to like 8 or something
Yeah.
and vicious, you're pretty much screwed. Like maybe it's recoverable, but most of the time they're gonna have multiple viciouses, so it's not gonna be like you're going to have to play patient with the vicious, where most of the time you can just collect aura and not have to worry about it.
Yeah. Angel's Tier, I think it's one of those weird stats. You can maybe argue this is a B skill, but the fact that it gives like like a plus level is kind of huge in some certain decks. I think this is very common in like Psycho Faith and those combinations. But a lot of the time you usually just be running Purify as the skill, but I think this is kind of a underrated thing.
Agreed.
You can also just make it a Aura Particle that's a 1 cost, which a lot of the time you should never be at 0 unless you're very unlucky.
And that's just edge cases.
Yeah. Then
Boost Mine?
You
Yeah,
can go.
boost mine is just you get aura, your partner gets aura. Like the only con that I can see here is that one, it's a 3, so that can like be an issue sometimes. Is level amp 3 or 2?
Level Amp's also a 3.
3. Okay.
The only
So-
yeah, one of the issues is that there's the animation, so you can, and obviously your opponents can get it.
It's a
if they're-
mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just so good. It like increases your level by 2. And really you're gaining 4 levels if you manage to get over your partner. You yourself you're not getting 4 levels, but like a net game you're
Yeah,
getting
for
4.
the team, yeah.
Fucking crazy.
And you can even use this in like, let's say you get this like you only get 1 boost mine in the early game, and then you get 1 pretty later, and someone needs to make a pickup. You can kind of use this as an actual mine.
Oh yeah. Because it does stun.
Yeah,
as well.
the animation, yeah. Willow is
And
an
it's
A. Oh, do you want
Most of the time you're not gonna most of the time you're not gonna lose it to Turb. There are some times where you're just not fast enough because it has to like prep up because it's a mine. But most of the time, oh, speaking of that, you can also use it in vicious. If you place it down and get vicious, you can still use it after
Yeah.
not having enough aura.
Makes sense, yeah. Willow's A, I think this is, even though it has crazy homing, it's more of a combo tool, if anything. So a lot of the time you're just going to be using it to combo. It's not very good by itself, since
Yeah.
at a certain level it's just easily cartwheelable, or you just block it, or just know how to use the terrain to your advantage.
Or jump it, but that's actually tough.
Yeah. Well, there was
Hey,
Twist
even
Laser. I think the DLC
Even
skills.
cartwheeling is actually
yeah.
pretty tough.
Yeah, it's one of those like definitely like skill check type of skills. It
Agreed.
tests like how good you are with like your defense. There's Twist Laser, but obviously it's A. It's just same as good as Slide. Now we're in B tier. We're done with A tiers. Psycho Blade would definitely be a better melee skill if the hitbox was a little bit like, you know, not wonky. I think sometimes you're pretty much like in your opponent's face and it somehow misses.
But it's still pretty good.
Yeah, it's still pretty. Unlike Excalibur, which the only issue is that it's bravery, and it still loses
Yeah.
to Fortress of Iron without any buffs,
Unless you have one heat. Yeah.
which is
Or
kind of
something
hard
like
to build. Then we have Big Bomb. It's just another combo tool. It sucks that it's 5 cost, and it's a slow
It has
move.
a lot of airtime.
Yeah, I say
Yeah.
it does have a lot of airtime, but you have to be kind of high aura to combo this move with other moves.
Or just combo with your partner most of the time.
Yeah. Then
On some maps like Palace for Big Bomb, it's actually pretty good because there's some spawns where like you'll be on that like top lane, you know what I'm talking about?
yeah,
And if you throw a Big Bomb, they're forced to either block or just get off their spawn.
Yeah.
Which most of the time you can delay someone from digging because of that.
then
But
Psychic Wall. I think even though you can argue this is like a jumper only type of shield, you rarely see this in any cartwheeler arsenal. But I think the fact that it's a 3/8 and it's a barrier, which it's fine. But this is easily like the best jumper shield, just because like Tiger Strength Fire Gehenna cannot get through this, and same thing with Tiger Strength Vibe Blaster. which are usually jumpers like biggest kryptonite.
Yeah, it's underrated, honestly.
Yeah, but I think you should really only be using this if you are a jumper.
Jumper. Otherwise, you got it.
Yeah. Shatter, obviously this is a really good skill. Obviously, if you just leave Aura on your bench, it's like this skill kind of becomes useless and the person's just sitting with it in their hand. But against certain types of arsenals, it's really good. It's also just
And it's good pressure.
Yeah,
because
it's good
so-
pressure.
So you can just use it right off the bat.
Then we have Crush. It's just a generically good Enviro. The only time you'll ever use it when the Enviro's not up is if you're playing Sign and the jump pads are up. And sometimes in other arsenals if you do bring this, but it's just generically good. Alleviate. I was about to say, I'll say this gives +3. I kind of forgot it does give +3. I think the issue is that movement speed, it kind of matters, but at the same time, it's kind of not that important of a stat. Just because,
Unlike friendship.
yeah, I was gonna say, I think damage is a lot more generically useful compared to movement speed. Even though you can dodge certain moves without needing to cartwheel, which means you're less prone to getting comboed. It's still hard. I think a lot of the time people aren't used to like moving at high speeds and knowing what moves you don't need to cartwheel anymore or jump in that fact, like a matter of fact. But it's still a good move. The same thing with speed up. I think the issue with even at +2, it's still fine. Like the +2 movement speed is still fine.
Yeah, the +1 to plus, like the difference between 3 and 2 isn't that big.
Yeah. Frighten.
Like maybe mathematically, but not.
Yeah. It doesn't.
exactly.
Yeah. I would say it's like literally like percentage, like small, which like I don't think it matters in like the bigger like grand scheme of games. And then we have Frighten, which is the best combo tool in the game if you can time it right. It's very hard, I think. At like obviously at like a theoretical like highest level, this would be a really broken move, but the issue is that you can still counter it if there's small like elevation, just because you'll just cartwheel off or jump. If you are a jumper, you just jump it.
Yeah,
But the issue is that if you are a jumper, there is mind game to this to where you
You'll
can
just
just bait
bump-
it. You can manual it, or you
Yeah,
target
exactly.
the other player to stop them. I would say this also just stops at like if someone's getting comboed, you can kind of stop their moves from coming out. So it's a hard skill to use, but it's really good when you can use it in the right cases. Then we have Dazzle. I think the only issue with this skill, even though it has the long, you know, stun animation, it also scrambles your buttons, so you actually have to use the D-pad feature to figure out what your moves are. I think the only issue is that since it's 4 cost, every shield in the game pretty much blocks it. So it's a little bit hard to like hit this move to like start off combos.
but when you do hit it, most of the time you'll just be able to get like any combo off.
Yeah. Even Bravery is a little bit of a weird move, or skill, I mean, because it obviously enables an entire archetype.
Bravery.
But you can also use this in like some weird recall arsenals. So,
Yeah. So since I use recall more often than you do, I guess I'll talk about this.
Yeah.
A lot of time, bravery. You'll sometimes even run like through school arsenals with bravery, and just kind of like get through your aura particles when you recall, because recall only will bring back 5 skills of your arsenal. So if you get rid as many useless skills as possible, you'll be getting all the skills that you need, like most loops. Which is exactly why people will just bring like bravery decisions specifically for recall loops, even if you're not running bravery. The only issue being that if you do that and they do like level race, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
But-
Then Retreat, it's an annoying move. You can only really counter this with Turb. Even though it's 5 cost, a lot of the time, by the time your 2 opponents are done like walking over towards you, you can just stall enough time to just do it again. Charge Particle, even though it requires a certain arsenal, I think it's still just a very good move since it goes through obstacles. It kind of creates combos as well. I think Blaster's also just generically good. Also kind of a combo setter in some cases. Photon Barrier, pretty much an infinite, like you can block every move in the game with this. This even deals with Dragon Slayer and what's the other
Is it
one? Judge of
retain-
Ares?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other one. The only issue is that it's a barrier, which means you have that long animation, so you can kind of get baited with this. And if you're not careful, you can accidentally get rid of your shield, so something.
It doesn't have a long animation. It has a long end lag.
Yeah, I guess
So,
end lag.
It won't. Yeah, it won't disappear for a while if you whiff it.
Yeah. Then Laser Shell, 2-4 Shelter is a really good stat line. It sucks that a lot of the time, if you're going up against like Faith,
Or
you are-
Tiger. Tiger Shang free
this is gonna get destroyed. But against, I guess, cheap lasers when it's just Tiger Strength lasers, this could be pretty good shield. Quantum Decay is just a good move. Very hard to use, but this can just kind of counter certain strategies. It's not as universally used as like what was the other one?
Vicious.
Yeah, Vicious. Just because it only halves the level by 50 and it's not setting to where like you can kind of make it to where your opponent
Yeah,
can't
so
come
if they
back
were
in the game.
if they were like level 88 or something, they would only go down to 44.
Yeah.
Like what does it matter? Unless they're running Phantom Dust, then you can screw them over.
Level Berserk, I think this is a good skill just because you can either use this on your teammate or your opponent, just if you're running Psycho Burst. Pretty much the only use case, and then Relearn, obviously used for recall, but this can also just be like generically used in like any Opti deck. Just because you can kind of
You lose a skill, you lose Vibe Laser, just relearn it.
yeah, you relearn it, or your Blaster again.
Or you lose your Laser Shell,
Yeah.
and then you're able to relearn it. It's a lot of good uses. Pretty universal.
Then we have Bullet Fire. It's generically good, but I think the 2-2 stat line kind of makes it a little bit iffy, especially since it's a medium range move. So it's not as good as something
It's
like
pretty
the laser.
fast though.
Yeah, it's pretty fast.
So it's a reliable like medium range skill. It's not blaster by like it's not gonna deal damage, but if you want to like fight ranged, pretty good option.
Yeah.
Like semi spammy. It's not you're not spamming, but like you're shooting enough where you're putting up pressure. You're doing damage.
Then we have Blazing Bullet. Obviously,
Just better bullet of fire.
Yeah, it's better Bullet Fire. Even has even though like the projectile looks bigger, I don't think the hitbox is any different from Bullet of Fire, if I'm not
I'm
mistaken.
pretty sure the hitbox is bigger as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. The only issue is that obviously it's a blazing move, so
Yep.
you'll pretty much be the main focus of target if they realize they need to get you off this.
Blazing.
Yep.
But most of the time before you get
Yeah.
off blazing, unless you're that bad, unless you're like just not skilled enough, most of the time you'll get like a good chunk of damage off, or like break a shield even if you've already like somehow heated up.
Yeah. I think another thing you have to consider is that a lot of the time you are running this at a 1-of, so it can kind of be like you can kind of get this skill when you don't need it, so that's kind of another bad thing about it.
True. It can be like a stone card.
Then we have Twister. I think in some certain like chokeholds, this move is kind of disgusting since like you can still block it, but it's only with shelters. So Psycho Shell and Fortress. So it's still just a generically good move. So I was gonna say I'm not sure if a lot of the other people run it with stats. I would assume so since you are nature.
I don't think people run it at all aside from like maybe Sharky or Esper.
I still think it's generically good.
It's still like a reliable move.
Yeah, I'll say because you can even make it to where if you throw it at certain terrain, it'll still like stay there, so you can kind of
A little bit, so you like lock them out. Yeah.
yeah, it's still like an area of denial. It's kind of this is like one of the few like good area of denial like skills in the game.
Because mines can be faked out, while tornado or like a twister, I mean,
Yeah,
will always just stay there, pretty much. It'd be good if
Yeah.
like a part like a bit more niche, like a niche situation. But if someone's partner died and they were like at a door or something, you could always just throw the twister and they can't walk in there. Like
Yeah.
it's literally impossible.
Then vacuum wall. So it's the fact that it's able to race not only range moves but
Also melee.
melees is really good. Sucks that it's 6 cost and it's 4 defense, so a lot of time it will. It's still a very annoying shield, like a ray shield to deal with, but it's still very good. Guard of Water the best melee counter. It's just also generically good shield. Because the animation's fast, unlike something like Guardian Angel, to where you have that really long animation. This one's very quick, so you don't get punished as often. In Forest Sanctuary, I think a lot of the time, I can't remember if I was like scared about this enviro during the last tournament, but after dealing with it, I think you still can use 3 cost moves, which is kind of like eh. It just puts the game in kind of like a weird state, but it's still like all right. Then Stimulate, I think the issue is the fact that it's 7 cost. Even though you're thinking it's 2 heats for technically at like a -1 cost, I think the fact that you have to be at high aura kind of makes it a little bit weird. I know this is sometimes, like this is commonly run in when you're doing Opti nature, but a lot of the time I really don't use it if it's just like Faith nature. Then we have Orb. If you know about like the whole like you can revive your dead partner to get rid of Orb, this is kind of useful. And a lot of the time this stops a lot of the shenanigans when it comes to like getting purified or getting turned with certain skills. So it's just goo. It's not the best, but it's kind of goo. Dance to Death. Definitely one of like the strong, like I guess you can argue that vibration moves are a part of an archetype, but this is also easily one of its like easily like the strongest like archetype move in the game. Just because because you're always going to be doing 14 damage a lot of the time. You can even run just 1 swift blow, which is fine, because 7 damage breaks majority of shields except obviously for Fortress. But a lot of time you can easily end games with just like, you know, like 2 to 3 good hits. Then Iron Skin, obviously the fact that it's a 1/3, this does help against like Decoy, Dazzle, and like those spam type moves. Can even deal with like non-Tiger Strength lasers a lot. It's also just a nice melee erase skill.
It's fragile, but yeah.
It's also
Shield
just
so far.
fast a lot of the time. I think its speed is kind of crazy, especially since it's a shelter. And we got Learning. I think you kind of use this in the rare cases to where you kind of don't have that you don't want to go to a certain school for like a consistent move. Like sometimes you just can't put Rian in a deck, so this kind of helps. You can also just learn at a high enough aura level. You can sometimes just learn like something like Vibe Blast or Vibe Laser, which is kind of huge. Then we have Lack. A little bit hard to use, but once you hit it, it kind of hurts a lot because most of the time you're usually getting rid of like 3 to 4 skills with this move. So when it and I don't think the tracking's as good, right? It's not as good as Tiger Strength, or not Tiger Strength, the Dragon Slayer.
Slayer. I think it's the same track, honestly.
I can't remember. I feel like Lag kind of
99%
has like weird tracking, but I could just be wrong. Then Exhaust. This one's also pretty good when you do hit it. It's kind of just Quantum Decay, except one-time use, and you also don't have to be an Opti for it. It also only affects the 1 player, so. Regular Rhythm, even though this is kind of a hard enviro to use, if you can use it effectively, this kind of does stop certain strategies. So it can just be kind of good to stop like expensive moves.
Yeah.
Lightning Speed, you just move really fast, which makes it good for pickups or to go aggro. The only issue is that you are obviously, unless you're running like Nature Key, you're usually gonna have to run Tiger Strength with it if you want to do meaningful damage. Or you're running Aura Backflow, which I wouldn't be shocked. But you know, you're moving really quick, but a lot of the time moving fast won't really mean a lot in some certain cases. Agonies, even though you have to require the 7 low, the fact that it's 0 and it's 6, and there's some goofy arsenals you can make and combos you can do with it, it's just kind of a good move. Demon's Fire, it's literally just more spammable Willow. The only issue is that you do get the -1, which is kind of like not that big of a deal, but if you are spamming it through the course of a game, especially since it has the same speed as Willow, so you're gonna use it as a combo tool, you know, you could probably chew through your own health at a rate that you're probably not the biggest fan of, so. Fire Gehenna, easily the best skill against jumpers. You can maybe even, I think probably Vibe Blaster's better, but this is still pretty good. It's just a little bit hard to use when you're going up against cartwheelers. Just because a lot of time it's not that hard to dodge, but if it does hit, it hits. Venom Fang, it's a good crawler. I really only use this on like City, but it's still good just because of the fact that your opponent a lot of the time is not going to want to touch any of their buttons because you know they're gonna take extra damage.
Yeah.
Then
It's
crawler,
almost like a freeze.
yeah, it's kind of like a freeze. Then crawlers, you know, it's also just very good. It's also kind of a combo tool because it's a very slow moving thing compared to something like Venom's Fang. It's a slow crawl. Angel Wing in B, it's obviously the only obviously Flash Hole and Dark Hole don't deal with melee, so this helps with melee, but the only issue is that it's sometimes very wonky when it comes to melee hits.
Yeah, it's like a slightly worse card.
Yeah. Judgment, it's pretty much if you can't really,
Crush.
yeah, it's Crush, it's
Lose health. It can beat Orb though, which Orb protects environments. So,
yeah.
because of the 0 cost, the only thing is that you usually die. It's usually not worth it unless it's like maybe memory lapse or something like that.
Yeah. Violent Change, you can argue this is a very, one of the best erase skills just because you automatically just erase 3. The only issue is that since it's universal, it's a lot more nuanced when you're using it. It's not as black and white. Then we have Trance. It's just like Tiger Strength at 0 cost. Obviously, you lose the 1 health penalty, which this is a move that if you're spamming too much, you know, you can kind of put yourself in a deficit because you kind of have to be a little bit patient with how you use Trance. You can maybe argue this is like an A tier move. Amulet, it is kind of like a less restrictive orb. It obviously has a lot more counterplay to it. If they realize you're on Amulet instead of Orb, they'll just spam Purify instead. So they can just get rid of it, but you know, it still has its uses. Fistless Pack, it can literally just grab you any skill in your deck. It also helps the fact that since it's 0 cost, you could technically make weird case arsenals like 1830, just because you know it's 0 cost and you can just grab a aura particle with it. Charge is just also another annoying skill. Throttle Blaster is just generically good. It's one of those like personal preference skills. Sometimes people just prefer having Blaster. Granted, I feel like Throttle Blaster is a little bit faster. I could just totally be wrong.
Throttle Blaster is faster.
Yeah. Then we have Backtrack. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you can go.
No, I was just gonna say that it's pretty much like you said, up to preference, and really the only things that you want to see in difference is that Blaster usually will break shield more often, but Throttle Blaster is just like, okay, I like this is gonna sound weird, but Throttle Blaster, if you want to do damage, is usually the one you want to use.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna be able to so you're not breaking shields most of the time, but you're gonna be able to get hits more often than Blaster.
Yeah.
Even though Blaster already has a pretty consistent hit ratio.
All right, we have Backdraft. This is good for comboing. It's a lot better
So
than
better
Pursuit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say you can also break erase shields with this, funnily enough, I'm pretty sure. Then Arc of Fire. It's sometimes useful when you're getting tree camped in Palace, and it's also good in the cage and Refinery. just because it's obviously weird, just because you know it's like a medium range like slide laser. Then we have Judge of Ares. It's very good in certain case scenarios when, you know, obviously you and your partner just don't have shields, in which a lot of the time, like, if you're a cartwheeler, you're not usually running that many shields, so this can kind of help in certain scenarios where you're either you or your partner just aren't seeing like the stats that you need, like a tiger strength or like the heats that you need to like start breaking through shields. So this can kind of be helpful with that. Now we're in C tier. We have Psycho
Well,
Wave. Oh, you want to?
wait. Yeah, I wanted to comment about Judge of Ares. Judge of Ares, even outside of the situations that you already mentioned, can also be used specifically against jumpers. And not only that, but there are some times where you and your partner do have like a couple of shields each, like maybe like 4 total or something like that. But then your enemies are maybe aura fucked or whatever it is, and they have like 6 shields total.
Yeah.
There's some times where you actually want to just use that Judge of Ares, because maybe your partners are just cartwheelers anyways.
Yeah, so you can even this could technically be like a very niche combo tool, just because if your partner has like photon barrier or just no shield at all, they can just go in and combo off like the animation. All right, C tier we have Psycho Wave. It's just Psycho Burst, except you know it's a one-time use and it's 4 cost, which kind of makes up for the fact that it's a one-time use. Still not the best, but I think this can be used in some like niche scenarios. Debris Bullet, it's pretty much just rock shot except it's RNG, so this can kind of be in some weird situation, and it's more spammable. Like I think a lot of the time you're thinking that 2 to 3 is not that big of a deal, but a lot of the time you can usually, like you get one more throw of Debris Bullet if you have at 6 where compared if it was like at 3 cost. So obviously the only downside is that it's random, so sometimes you just won't hit for the big 4 damage. Psycho Spear, it's a pretty good move when you do hit it. It's also kind of weird, just like with a lot of parabolas where it has that weird tracking issue. Sometimes this can like straight up home on people and there's nothing they can do about it since it pierces, you know, everything. Cluster Bomb, I think this is, I would say there's only 3 bravery skills, right? Because I would say this is like easily the worst out of the 3 just because it's fast, but it's also easily cartwheelable. Psycho Sniper is a little bit weird of a move. The stat line's pretty alright, and the thing about it is that it starts off slow, then it speeds up, so it can kind of be used in some niche scenarios. Rain of Stones and Rain of Rocks are kind of similar, one of them just does more damage. I think Rain of Stones, you can maybe argue is a B tier rain, but rains are very universally just not that used just because a lot of the time you can just kind of prevent, you know, you can just have something above you. But the Rain of Stones sometimes can be very deceptive when it hits just because the RNG factor is a lot more crazy on Rain of Stones compared to something like Firestorm. Gravity Press is usually the best like combo tool because you can either force, I would say you'll probably be a better explainer for this toad So say you use
okay. Yeah, Gravity Press. Well, what do you want me to explain? Like,
I feel like you know a lot more about the nuanced cases about it.
There aren't many nuanced cases. It's mostly just you throw it, they get hit very hard. A lot of times I'll hold on to it. Okay, well it depends because Gravity Press can be used in many different ways. Most of the time, when I'm using it at least, I'm using it in the Bravery deck. That is where like instead of Bravery Decision, you just use a bunch of one-use skills. Gravity Press is one of the best ones there because most of the time I'll just hold on to it, wait for my partner to not even do like a lot of damage most of the time. Just kind of knock them down. Boom, I pop it, they take hella damage, even if they got knocked down by like a Psycho Knife or something. Fucking crazy.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't even have to like wait for like the opponent to get knocked down. You can kind of just combo it by itself.
Throw it, yeah.
Because it's like they either get hit by your partner's projectile or they get hit by 8 damage. So.
But most of the time that the reason I don't want to do that is because a lot of the time you'll hit your partner
Yeah.
or it'll just miss. That's another thing about gravity press. I guess this is where the nuance comes in. Gravity press will just randomly miss. Like I feel like the hitbox, unless you know for certain it's gonna hit where like they're knocked down, it's very wonky. This is the same for a lot of holes,
Yeah.
for a lot of the hole type moves. So C tier is where it goes.
Sensor mine, obviously, with this is the issue with any mines, you can kind of bait it, but this is still like a good area of denial type of thing. Just because if you need to, you can kind of cover certain areas just by yourself without needing your partner to doing it, so you can kind of create more angles. You also create mind games with the fact that sometimes the opponents might not be aware on where you placed it, so still pretty good. Power Shell, it's a shelter, and it also has the anti-pierce property, so it's somewhat used, it's a little bit of a weird use case. But obviously, if you're in, Psycho, you kind of have Psycho Shell. So a lot of time you're going to be using this, so it's kind of overshadowed by that shield alone. Change course is, it just reflects, right? I would say it's kind of just like reverse. I just realized, what's the difference between change course and reverse? Does change course actually not reflect it back?
Change course is not reflected back.
Okay.
The only one that reflects it is
Is
reverse
yeah.
or reflect mirror.
Yeah.
All that.
Well, reverse, if it wasn't 5 cost, it didn't have that lengthy animation, it would probably be a little bit better, because this can kind of be an annoying move against certain, types of skills. These two enviros are a little bit weird. I think abnormal gravity, this can kind of be used in a little bit more in your favor, just because you can buff yourself up to get to where you can get yourself back to like regular speed. But at the same time, -2 speed isn't like that crazy of a deal, but it's still kind of impactful for certain moves. Then confused gravity, it's one of the more annoying enviros just because it inverts your control. So if you're not used to it, and the opponents are, you can kind of, get comboed or get hit easily by this because you're not sure how to like cartwheel in certain ways. Pressure, it's you pretty much like the opponent, if you get hit by this, you just straight up can't do anything for 3 seconds, so it's a good combo tool. I think we mainly see this with like what pressure, like what was the move already? I already forgot. Gravity press.
Gravity press, yeah.
Yeah. Burden.
Pressure
Minus-
you actually see
Yeah.
more often with, well, yeah, gravity press too, but Psycho Spear just because it's cheaper.
Yeah. Burden, it just gives -20, but kind of hard to hit. Acquisition, you may argue that this should be a B tier skill, but I think it's kind of C tier since kind of homing accuracy is like, out of all like the stats you can get, it's not that crazy because you require so much of it for it to be like noticeable that it's happening. Because if you're at +2, it's not going to matter. You have to be at least like +4, +6 for you to like realize the homing is getting a lot better. Skywalk, it's just basically Skywalk and Levitate are just anti-hang tech, so it's pretty much useful if you are in those schools. Laser Blade, it's kind of
Would be better if the stat line was just flipped.
yeah, if it literally just had Mistblade stats, it would be crazy good, but this is pretty much like the only, like these 3 moves are kind of like the only thing you kind of have for like Opti, like melee defense, because that's obviously like the main counterplay against lasers, to obviously get in close, even though you can get manualed, but still a lot of the time they're obviously going to just try to avoid you, so you kind of have these 3 moves to kind of deal with it, but they're a little bit niche, and they're also kind of baitable, especially like the photon moves, just because you can kind of bait that you're going in and then just back out. You can also just manual too if you're trying to hit like a melee move. So, and they'll just do it on their own, so. Laser, it's just a 1-1. I think it requires way too many buffs for you to like make it towards more meaningful spam than like slide laser, but it's still like alright. Triple laser, this move's good against jumpers, but I think the main issue, because you can easily break, you can pretty much break any shield with this against a jumper, since if you Tiger Strength, you're doing 9 damage with this. Obviously, I would say you won't hit for the full 9, right? Just because of how the damage threshold works. I can't remember if you will get 9 damage off or you only get 6. So do you know anything about that, Toad?
It'll do 3, and then if it does, yeah, each laser gets individually buffed. So if you buff it by was
The Tiger
1,
Strength, yeah.
or well, Tiger Strength, yeah. So if you buff it by Tiger Strength, then yeah, it'll do 9.
Oh, okay. I was just making
Or
sure.
well, you can't if you can't hit all of them, so technically 6.
Yeah, okay. So
Actually,
I was right
I don't
about
know
it being
about
6. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you only hit for it for
You only
6.
hit as much as it can knock.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
Maybe because it's all in one instance, it might just hit for 9. So
It's not an all one. Like they're
pretty sure they all connect on the same time.
yeah, they're multiple. Okay, I don't know about that. Like I simply do not know. But they're like multiple projectiles technically.
Yeah.
So,
Or, oh no, it either hits for 6 or 9, but a lot of time against jumpers you're breaking shields, but against cartwheelers they're easily just be able to literally hold left or right and press the LB button. Gugnir, this one's if you kind of a meme skill you can argue, but if you buff it up, it's also pretty annoying to deal with just because they can just sit there and spam it and just kind of get stunned by a move. And they can just kind of hold it to like one-shot you in weird case scenarios. Rapid Cannon, also kind of the same boat as Gungnir. A little bit harder to use, but you can kind of buff it to where you kind of have to, where it makes it a little bit weird to cartwheel or block. Killer Satellite. You have anything to say about this?
not a word.
Okay, yeah, it's Killer Satellite. It's like alright for like a rain move. It's a little bit hard to use, but you can kind of make it to where it's kind of like a home move in a sense, right? This is the one to where you just kind of have to dodge it. Or am I thinking of a different skill? Like to where like is it like I'm pretty sure is this the move where like a giant circle appears on you and you kind of
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I would say this kind of works like a whole. Even though it says it's right, it kind of
Weird.
works more of as a whole.
I'm pretty sure it goes through even if you're like below a roof.
I wouldn't be shocked, but at the same, I was
You'll
gonna say,
have to fact check me on that one. I'm not sure.
I don't know about that. I'm pretty sure I highly doubt it goes through a roof.
Actually, I do have something to say about Killer Satellite. It can sometimes be like really wonky on its hitbox, like a lot of other skills, but like wonky in the way that it is good.
Yeah, I was about to mention that, like, I think the issue with it, like, you can't, it's not like it has a wonky hitbox. I think the thing is that, like, you think that the move is over just because you see the circle disappear, but if you go back
But
too
it can
early,
still hit.
yeah, because the hitbox is still there. It's still, like, lingering.
A wonky hitbox.
Well, it's not a wonky hitbox. That it just has a deceptive animation because
I guess. Yeah.
because it just has a lingering hitbox, even though the move should end, like, theoretically. Laser barrier, a lot of the time you're not going to use this because you either have laser shell or photon barrier to use, but 1-4 is a pretty good stat line.
Yeah, in theory, it's actually a pretty good. It's a pretty good skill. If say you were playing like Last Card Standing, where people are banging skills, laser
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a very specific use case, but it's it sells in its use case.
Eraser, if you're pretty patient with this can be a good erase shield. Paralyzed barrier, it's kind of like a combo shield. You can sometimes use this to like you paralyze someone and then you
Celestial ship.
you celestial ship. Yeah, you can use this against long range. I guess you could. I'll say you can use this against like you know long, medium range. It's kind of useful in like all the ranges. It just sucks that it's a 4-2. Reflect mirror.
Well, actually, I would say it's pretty good. Like balance wise, 4-2 is smart
Yeah.
because most of the time you want to just. It doesn't matter that it's being broken because most of the time
You're blocking to let it be broken, or just paralyze and then follow up with whatever skill you want to use.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Reflect mirror. You can maybe argue this could be a B or T move just because if you have like like you know you have no buffs, this can be really annoying against like you know Rian a lot of the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate when I see this shield and I don't have any stats. I'm like, man, I can't get through this stupid like shield.
Actually, blaster, Rian, lasers, even. Like,
It's
not
for cost.
that
You're
good.
still getting spammed to death
Yeah, you're
against
still getting
lasers, but
spammed by lasers,
but
you're actually like hitting back.
yeah, I was gonna say you are hitting back in like if let's say if it's Tiger Strength, your opponent has to dodge it because there's no way they're gonna be like, yeah, let me just get hit by the 4 damage laser that I try to throw. If we could maybe move this up to B tier, I wouldn't be.
It's niche.
Yeah, I'd say it's really niche, but I think that obviously the issue is that you're obviously not reflecting a melee move in front of your face, but
Actually, I don't know if yeah, it's a reflect.
yeah, it's a
not
reflect. You're getting hit by melee.
Yeah. If it was a barrier that just happens to also reflect, that would be better.
Yeah. All right.
I think if it was a player that also reflects, then I would give it the B tier.
Yeah.
Actually, honestly, even A tier at that point.
Eliminate, a lot of the time this is very niche if you're doing like shatter eliminate combos with like a certain enviro hanged up, but a lot of the time shatter's just way better just because a lot of the time you're not really gonna care that an aura particle gets erased unless your arsenal is very reliant on it, but at the same time like there's better ways to deal with your opponent being at a certain aura level than using eliminate. Disintegrate, it's even though like you have to like everyone has to worry about this, it's a very easy hole to dodge, but when it does hit, it obviously hits, so it can be kind of detrimental when you do accidentally get hit by this, or certain combos do happen with this. Reduce entropy. I'm not sure. I really can't really speak on like certain enviros like this one.
Yeah, I don't actually.
I can't remember. I can't remember if this was actually like one of the better enviros for hanging, but I just really can't because we rarely have to worry about enviros in competitive play.
Yeah, these are banned nowadays, so.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't be shocked if this was a banned enviro, and I just can't remember because a lot of the time if you're using
It's
a banned
a banned
enviro, why not just do memory lapse?
Memory lapse. Yeah. Well, there's I don't know if it's been recent, but there's been tournaments where you have memory lapse banned, but not something like chaos or Athena's command.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure reduced entropy is one of the more like
Less annoying or like evil ones because you're getting rid of laser.
No, it's cost of 3 or more, so you're getting.
Oh, I'm thinking of chaos. My bad.
Yeah. I say this one. I think this might actually be one of the like banned enviros. And now more I think about just in reading it because it's 3 cost or more, so this does stop.
You're shutting down most attacks.
Yeah, I'll say
You're actually, no, sorry. You're doing the reverse. You're helping laser.
Yeah, I'll say you're helping laser, and I think this is the enviro that people do actually use for the shatter eliminate combo.
Oh yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
I will just move this up because I kind of forgot this was probably in the band.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot this is kind of nasty because the fact that you can't use Flame Sword against this, and a lot of the time, obviously like their hand for eliminate and shatter will usually have a shield to deal with melee, so you really can't just sit there and hyper kick or psycho knife people. Alright, accelerate. You can probably speak on this one, Toad, because you wanted to put it here.
So I could see this being a B, but I think I would give it a C tier only because it has like 2 uses and that's pretty much it. It does do good at those uses, but it can also be almost like a double-edged sword. On one hand, it helps with recall loops because you get to dig faster. On the other hand, in that same like recall loop scenario, you're not wasting a slot necessarily because it does actually pop out capsules much faster than usual. Like I think double the time. When you're using that means you'll also recall it a lot of the time, which is not that good because you don't want it rather than like the skills that you want to recall. Outside of recalls, you also can use it to pop, which is probably the better use of this skill. But at the same time, you're popping fast because skills are popping up faster than usual. But
people also get to dig faster, which could be good. Your partner needs to dig. Okay, I'll put accelerate, or I need to dig. But that also means that your enemies are digging faster. And this is where my issue lies, so I'll keep it at a C, maybe a low B, but
Yeah.
Hmm.
Paralyze. I think the fact that obviously it's not like Dazzle where you have that long animation. You can still block and dodge. It's just kind of not as useful. Kind of has the same issue as Dazzle, to where you could just kind of block it since it's a 4-cost move. So any shield really deals with it. Optical camo. No one can look at you so you pretty much have to get manualed out of this, which is going to be very hard. I would assume so, but a lot of the time it's really not that impactful that you're invisible, and then you get to just kind of move around without anyone noticing you. Level amp, this is kind of a more selfish like boost mine. You can use this in like weird case scenarios where maybe you don't want to risk like boost mine getting taken by the opponents, and your teammate really doesn't need like the aura, even though that's very like rare. But this can kind of be used in certain case scenarios. And recall, you can argue this might be a B tier move. I think the issue is that it's really only used in like more gimmick arsenals, and it's kind of hard to use in just like generic arsenals. The only player I can think of is maybe Ebony, who can sometimes pull this off.
yeah, he'll run like a pocket recall or two. I
Yeah.
think he runs like recall 2 relearns, which is fine. He's not like, so he's not using it to do a recall loop, but rather like, oh, are you popping my skills out, or my erase shields got raised? I'll just recall it.
Yeah. Blazing Sword does a lot of damage. It's pretty much like Psycho Blade, but in nature, but obviously it's a blazing move. So it's kind of bad in that sense. Then Sonic Boom, it's a little bit useful, kind of like Laser. It's just kind of like a little spamming thing that you can do if you do buff it up at a certain degree. Lightning Blade, I feel like if it didn't get the aura penalty, this could probably see a little bit more use. Just because if you do combo this right, you kind of do just erase and a defensive skill, which is kind of huge.
But it's so costly.
Yeah, I think the issue, if it really didn't have that penalty, it would probably be a little bit better. I think Memory Battle and Crystallization kind of are in their own same like archetype. The issue is that array shields that deal with the range moves are a lot more common than like melee ones, so they're obviously a lot generically like useful. Just because a lot
Also,
of
the
time,
homing on Memory of Battle isn't even that good.
yeah, the Memory Battle of homing isn't that crazy. It's also pretty slow. And then plus the fact, what was I gonna mention? I think the issue with Memory Battle is that you have to really waste a lot of slots if you want to get like huge damage out of this, which makes it very awkward to like make arsenals for.
Yeah.
And then Crystallization, you can argue it's like Dance of Death, but since it's range, it's like people can just use terrain a little bit more often to deal with it. Even though it does have very good homing, but you're usually gonna have to buff up yourself up with stats, because you're at most you're obviously gonna like want like a shield, especially if you're running this as like a jumper. You're usually gonna want to have a shield because you can maybe make the case argument that you can just run 3 Piece of Fire and just have this in your hand, but I think that's very hard to like pull off. I don't think the like reward for it is that crazy. Firestorm, you can argue it's a B move, but at the same time, I think rains are just a little bit underutilized, and they're they're only really good on certain maps, because unlike Lucifer's Air, they don't obviously go through things, and obviously you can just sit above or sit below certain things. Wall of Current, it's another melee array shield, and it's cheaper than Fortress, so you sometimes see this in like certain like counter arsenals against like stuff like Dance of Death. But I think a lot of the time you're usually just be running Fortress of Iron. Berserk's really good in certain case scenarios, but a lot of the time it depends on like what school you're going personally, just because a lot of the time you can just get your own shield hurt a lot, or you just take a lot of unnecessary like pierce damage because of it. Entangle, It's all right. It's pretty fast, if I'm not mistaken. It's a pretty fast.
It is very
crawl.
fast.
So you can pretty much use that. It's a good combo tool. So you can pretty much. I'm sure. Isn't there like an infinite with this, or am I crazy? I want to be
It's with
shocked.
optic.
Yeah, I'll say you have to do op, dude. Swift Punch, it's only C tier just because of the whole, like, vicious balance deck. Kind of shut it down, and I mean, 2-4 is kind of a good stat line for a melee move. Pursuit, it's a little bit worse than Backdraft just because you have to be, not only you have to be close range, but it's a little bit weird to use because sometimes you'll just literally overshot your opponent somehow, even though you're locked on, so.
Yo, you like jump over them almost.
Yeah. Absorb energy is really good against like just cheap laser spam, but a lot of the
'Cause
time Tiger
You get a
Strength.
refresh,
Yeah.
which is pretty good.
Yeah, I'll say you also like gain it back, so a lot of the time you just gain back the more that they wasted, so they can't really outspam you. But the issue is that
Oh, it also has the infinite earthquake strategy.
oh yeah, this does
Can't
have.
believe we forgot that. It
Oh man, who wouldn't?
doesn't change the ranking. But
Yeah,
we
I'll
just
say
forgot
that. I think the issue is that obviously if there's a blaster with like one stat line, or both the opponents just combo well, they kind of just get rid of the shield pretty fast. Also doesn't help that that melee obviously just doesn't work against melee. Neutralization. This is really useful against what, like Orb and Amulet.
Yeah.
I think that's the only use case for this move. So. How much?
But
Huh? What'd you say?
Purify can't.
Yeah.
Purify is pretty much incapable of dealing with Orb. I mean, not so much. But Orb is like completely out of range.
I think another issue with this is that it has to hit the opponent as well. It's not like, it's kind of like Armor Swatch where they actually have to hit, like you actually have to hit the opponent for it to count. So you can kind of make this like a stun tool just because they have to block it. So it's a little bit useful in that case.
Oh yeah, and
So, if they do have Orb, if you're throwing that neutralization and you're hitting, you're going 1 for 3. Right?
Yeah.
Orb is
so your enemy's losing 3 for your 1.
I think
Or
Orb is
two.
2. I think Orb is 2. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, well either way, you're still gaining more than, or you're still losing less than they're. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Orb might be 3. I can't remember. Either way, Fatigue is just an annoying enviro to deal with, just because if you spam lasers with this, your opponent has to just sit there and cartwheel or jump it, and they can't sit there and like block it if you just throw a powerful attack. So it has its use. Pin down, it's really only useful for, like, obviously if you're doing a goofy infinite or you're doing the Orb backflow stuff. Meditations, aura recovery is also, definitely the worst like stat skill. You can maybe argue it's a little bit better than like something like homing, just because of the fact that you're able to like defend more and you're able to spam more attacks, so you're a lot more active throughout the game with aura
and
recovery.
you're able to make goofy strategies like infinite pin down, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say you could make certain things, like you can make like combos that wouldn't be able to happen just because you're not able to regain the aura fast enough be able to happen. Void, it's kind of like invisibility camo, to where
It's like technically better than it, but at the same time,
it's worse just because if you still get hit by a lightning sword, you still lose the shield. So like certain interactions like that still happen, and same thing if you get hit by like an ice sword.
targeted by lag, all that.
Yeah.
So it's not really a good defense. Like, yes, you're immune to damage, but are you really?
Yeah, you kind of can just go through a lot of things still. Like you can just kind of walk your way past people. It's somewhat useful, but a lot of time you're not gonna be able to see it. Jump is just kind of anti-tech or hanging tech, Can't really like rate it any higher, especially since out of all the other ones, you can. It's only 5 use, which is kind of weird. A lot of the other like
They
hanging.
nerfed it.
Like originally it had been infinite. So I don't know
Yeah, I don't
why.
know why they nerfed it.
I don't know why they felt the need to nerf it. It's not even that like
Yeah,
strong.
it's not that crazy like base game. Muramasa Blade, if you hit 2 of these, you just kind of kill someone, so you can kind of do like memory lapse recollection.
Honestly, it would be like a B or A tier. No, not A tier. B if you were doing 1v1s, but since tag is the standard.
Yeah. Lingering Flame can be kind of an annoying move at a certain point, but at the same time, it's 0-1. It can just easily be erased in certain scenarios. So, Spore Schism, this is a fast crawler, and the fact that it explodes is kind of huge because even though if you dodge the crawler part of it, if you get hit by the explosion, you're still taking 8, which is in some scenarios you can kind of guarantee that happens. Shield of Aegis, it's a barrier 2-5. It has good stat line, but the issue is that obviously first it's a barrier, and a lot of time you're kind of taking up a shield slot just to like block something. But if you're good enough, you should just be able to cartwheel a lot of things. This is kind of, you can argue maybe a jumper like sensitive shield, just because you know 2-5 is a good stat line, and it kind of blocks Tiger Strength 3 in. Protect Circle, it's a shelter, but at the same time, you know, you're taking up another inventory or an arsenal slot just to use this. Devil's Arm, you could maybe argue it's better than Angel's Wing just because it's 0 cost. And I wouldn't be shocked if it maybe doesn't have like the wonkiness that Angel's Wing does, where like you'll sometimes just get hit for funsies even though you know you looked at their same direction. But I could.
I'm pretty sure that's just all brush skills.
Yeah. Bloody Ritual. If you hit it, you hit it, but the issue is that the 3 health penalty kind of matters a lot.
Yeah, it's fat.
Hungry Demon. It's a lot more nuanced to use. Just because it has to be on the same like equipped skill. I think maybe this would be a better move if it just erased like just a skill in general, but I think it would maybe be broke.
I agree. So, I use Hungry Demon and Bloody Ritual a lot. Those are the race skills that I use very, very much. So I can give a lot of insight. Bloody Ritual, pretty forward. It's you kind of just throw it. It has okay homing. Sometimes it'll have like really good homing, but most of the time it's like okay, because it's slow. It's very slow. So that's fine. It's very straightforward. Hungry Demon, however, is incredibly fast, has very good homing, and like most ranges, even short. Unlike Dragon Slayer, it even has pretty good range, unless you're literally right in front of each other, like 0 meters away. It has incredible homing. So really, it's less about using the skill, but showing that you have it. Because most of the time, when people see that you have it, unless they have something like an amulet, even an amulet, they'll be like worried about it. But most of the time, if someone has like an orb, they won't worry about it most of the time. But if they don't have something like that, and they don't have like a photon barrier or Rian in that slot, you showing presence with that skill will already immediately cause most people to just not go into that skill. And if they do, you can usually just punish them and take a skill slot. Also, even when it doesn't do anything, it still like scares people. People still try and shield it. So yeah, it's a pretty good skill.
I think,
Also, it has a huge stun time when it has like lightning sword stun time.
I was about to say, another thing I kind of like realized about is that even though you can think about a counterplay, is that, oh, obviously, if you know what slot their Hungry Demon is in, just don't put any skills in there. But the issue is that you're also, like, that kind of works for Hungry Demon in its case, because with, like, obviously having your handful is a lot better than just having 3 out of 4, you know, equipped. So I think that's kind of a good case for Hungry Demon. You can maybe argue this might be a B tier skill, but it does have its downside.
I still think it can get very easily played.
Yeah.
Like very playable. So I don't know.
Thieving Gimp, I think this can be kind of a weird use skill. I think the fact you're able to just steal any skill, like obviously it's random on what you're going to be stealing, but I think sometimes it can pay off. Fairy Ring, can kind of make a weird combo with this. That's pretty much the only use for it, but there's probably some other uses you can do with it. I think that's the only explored option is like Horde Fairy Ring combo. Annoying Gifts kind of like a weird move as well. A lot of time you're not gonna be able to hit it, but if you like target lock on your partner, you can do like weird combos like infinite agonies and all that. So
Yeah.
it's one of those just like kind of like Fairy Ring to where like you can argue it's a D tier move, but like at the same time this can kind of have competitive like relevance if set up correctly. Or it can. I think the issue is that obviously it requires you to be maximum aura. So a lot of the time, like even if you have to like use this, like in case you have to kind of stay at 6, which is a good aura count, but you know it's still a little bit weird just because you know you can. I think the only time you're really gonna be able to see this move is like Highway, sometimes City, because it does have like very good homing. The only issue is that those are like the only 2 stages where like it's wide and open and you're able to like use this a lot more, but it still has its use. Quantum Map is really only useful for like
Echo Burst.
yeah, or you're trying to, or you can kind of use this against if you kind of expect your opponents to like use Vicious Balance, because you can kind of bring them up 2 levels from like, you know, you can kind of use that if you kind of predict that.
And most of them will be running like a full, like two or less.
Yeah. So this can kind of be useful in those scenarios. Throw out Fireball, kind of same thing with Sonic Boom. It kind of just can kind of have its niche use as just a 1-1 spammable move. Jackpot is kind of like a noob skill, just because obviously if you're new at the game you're going to struggle to like deal with this move, but obviously like even slightly experienced players will just know how to walk holes and just deal with it. It's just kind of annoying. Excalibur obviously doesn't have the restriction of the actual real Excalibur to where you have to have 7 or less, but the issue is that it's RNG and it's also melee, so you know you can just sometimes like throw this at like an Iron Skin and it won't even break the Iron Skin. Knife Grind, I feel like
It could be B.
I don't think I would ever move Excalibur to B. I think the issue is that it's just kind of RNG already. Oh, Knife Grind? I don't know. I think the issue with it I have personally is obviously that it's 3 use.
But it's a pretty good pressure tool. It's like
Yeah.
Psycho Knife, but it's a disposable Psycho Knife.
Yeah, I'll say it's a more disposable Psycho Knife. It still obviously loses to Iron Skin, but I think another downside you can look at it is that since it's 3 strength, it's gonna knock down the opponent, so it's a little bit weird.
Ooh.
Shield Breaker, it has the same animation as Lightning Sword, so you can sometimes fake out people if they're not really paying attention to your hand or what school you're in, so you could sometimes use this against them, since they'll be like, oh, let me just block the Lightning Sword, and you just hit them for free. But a lot of the time, people are just going to cartwheel or dodge their way. Erase Shell, it's obviously like, this is like the only shield in the game, right, that can erase rain moves, just because it's the only erase shelter. But obviously, you really should.
Rings are already pretty bad.
Yeah, I'd say this is only like a really good counter against Lucifer's Arrow. That's like the only good like counter to that move. But you know, it's still 6 costs, and it will obviously break easily against any other move. Armoros Watch, you can maybe argue this is a B tier move just because it can be used as a combo tool. But a lot of time, but the fact that it's 5 costs, yeah. But the fact that it's, you know, you have to like not only does this waste like a hand slot, but the fact that it's like 5 costs also makes it to where like, you know, it's not as universally useful as like just Armoros, but you can still make this move work pretty well. Impact Burst, it's I think probably one of the, like easily like the funniest and like maybe best like 1-use skill in the game. Just because I think you can also maybe argue it's like a noob skill to where like if you're not experienced on knowing how to dodge it, you get hit by it.
Even when you do know it, it's pretty hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes, not all the time.
Yeah. Ground Laser. I feel like maybe if this was a 2-1, this would probably be a little bit better, but I think the fact that it's 3-1 and you have to tie your strength up, so you can do 4 damage. Actually, no, you can do 3 damage, so you can kind of break shields with this. But the issue is that since it's a crawler, it also like speeds up as it goes because it starts off slow, then it speeds up. So you kind of need to use this on like just flat terrain where there's like nothing really stopping you. So just kind of like other crawl moves, it's very niche. Rafflesia Fang, I think this kind of is a little bit of an underutilized shield in some like combo decks. Because I remember we used this, me and Shadow used this for like healing each other in like our Dance of Death arsenals. Just because you pretty much recover 14, which is kind of huge. Because that pretty much like brings you back to like a full health without, because you know obviously when you get revived you only start off at 10, which 14 you can pretty much get back to like full health.
Full health.
Yeah.
That's
Stone
pretty
shot.
crazy. That's a crazy stat.
I would say Stone Shot's just worse. Rock Shot. Oh, we're in the D tier. That was the end of C tier. We'll go through some of the
Wow.
more notable.
We're getting to the ditches.
Yeah, I would say we'll go through this section pretty fast. I think Stone Shot. The issue is that Rock Shot
Just bad.
Yeah, I'll say. If this was a 2-3, you can maybe make the argument that it's like a C tier move or even as equally as good as Rock Shot. But I think the fact that it's 2-2 makes it stinky. Bomb, even though it explodes, I think the fact that it's 3-3, you kind of just lose to Flash Hole, and you won't even get like the explosion damage off. Just keep on going through these quick. Throwing Stone, funny. Bomb Shot, also a meme. You can argue maybe Meteor is a little bit good. What was the one skill you want? Remote Mine.
No, I said that's a D tier.
Okay, you were trying to make an argument for it that you can like use
Well,
it.
no. Like there is a use case for it, but it's not higher than a D tier.
Yeah.
Psychokinesis, however, some people could argue. Reason being, that is the highest homing in the game. Period.
Yeah.
You cannot dodge that. There's no way to dodge it. Unless you are like literally cheating, there's no way to dodge it.
I think the only issue
There's
is
like
that.
there's like a 5% chance you can dodge it. Or lower. That's it. But the issue is that it's so inconsistent.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would actually be a pretty good move.
Yeah. You can argue these shields might be C, but a lot of time, if you're in Psycho, you're only gonna use Psycho Shell because it's a shelter, and there's obviously another shelter that's pretty good. Let's see, pretty bad in Pyro, reduced gravity. Like everyone getting plus 2 speed kind of just doesn't matter. If anything, it might just work against you in certain cases. And obviously, any of like the 1 minute skills, you can argue that they're pretty good, especially since this one's against optical. But at the same time, they can just kind of sit there and do nothing for 1 minute, and you have to do something to like make it proactive, which is a lot of.
There's
work.
also some times where Vanishing Light will just not do anything ever, because like the whole lobby is just not running optical, or maybe your teammate's the only one running optical.
Yeah, I'll say this can work.
You're just throwing them over for no reason.
Yeah. I think we'll bring attention to Call. You can maybe make the like weird case that you can use this to like, since sometimes maybe your
Prevent
base is
pop
a
out.
little bit too far, but a lot of like, and you can just call this skill, but I don't know, it's still pretty bad. But you can maybe make the argument.
You can also change your spawn point, like technically.
Yeah.
Like if your base is like being cammed, you can use it, but meh.
Yeah, it still has its niche uses, but this is one of those skills you can maybe argue it has like C tier potential. Same thing with like Mistblade. I mean,
I don't know about meh.
I mean, 2-3 is such a good stat. It just sucks that you lose like the 1 level, so it's very weird to use.
It's very inefficient. That's what it is.
I guess we'll bring attention to like Ricochet Laser. Even though you're thinking this move is fucking crazy on Pano, that's the only level it's crazy on. I don't like the other skills you can probably bring to other levels. With Rico, you're only gonna be bringing it to Pano. You can maybe bring it occasionally to Palace if everyone's camping under the escalator for whatever reason, but like this move is pretty much useless unless you're in that one map. And even still then, there's still counterplay to the skill. It's like pretty hard to still counterplay, but there's still counterplay. Thunder Blaster. I feel I wanted to move this in C, but I think the issue, because you can deal a shit ton of damage, but the issue is that your arsenal is very weird, because you're pretty much gonna be all medium range. Because you're gonna have like a bunch of
Not even all medium range, all blaster.
yeah, so you're gonna be all blast. And you're obviously gonna want to be like at 10 just so you can use Vibe Blaster, which it still hinders you a lot. Compressor.
Well, maybe you could argue that you could run like a normal blaster vibe build and then just run like one bubble blaster, blaster. But man, like it's very,
Yeah.
very
Compressor, you can maybe argue as a C tier move, but I think a lot of the time it's a little bit hard to like make work, especially since the projectile's not that good. It's kind of like Memory Battle. And a lot of times, since unlike Memory Battle where you're throwing attacks at the players, this one you're just kind of like blocking, which a lot of times they can just completely ignore you because like what else are you gonna have in your hand? Because you're wasting a lot of your slots just having defensive skills, and it's like, what are you gonna do? You know, when your whole hand is just shields, they're just obviously ignore you and just double team your partner, which there's nothing you can do. Let's see, is there any other optimization? I guess we could talk about. You can maybe make the case that it's C tier, but a lot of the time it's just a wacky like enviro to use. A lot of time.
And really, it hurts you more than it helps you most of the time.
Yeah.
Like there's no real reason why you should be using it most of the time, unless you're running like a. So it enables wacky combos like I don't know, let's say infinite earthquake,
Yeah.
infinite pin down, stuff like that. But outside of those cases, you really don't want to be running it.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a noob skill. It's a very like noob trappy
yeah.
skill.
You can get punished very easily with this just because a lot of the good moves are they would be even better if you could just spam them, and optimization just allows you to spam them. Let's see. I guess Blazing Storm's kind of a contention point. This is like out of all the blazing moves, like the least used, just because it's rain. Can't really use it that often.
I genuinely can't remember a time I've seen used.
I've seen this a couple times. It's definitely like
Blazing Storm?
I've definitely seen this maybe like 2 to 3 times, but it's not like that crazy. I agree. Let's see. I was supposed to say Scar battles. You could maybe you can argue this might be a C tier move.
It's a good support skill.
Yeah.
For like your battle.
But
As
it's
its own skill, it's a pretty okay
Yeah.
skill. Like if Memory Battle already wasn't that good,
yeah,
Scar
Scar
battles-
battles. Yeah.
just not good.
Cyclone's a weird
Same
shield.
with all the piece of thunder, piece of fire, piece of wind, all
Yeah, I
those
think-
skills. They're
What
not
was- yeah.
good by themselves, but with crystallization, they have like reason of existence. Like they have a use,
Yeah.
just not a very good one.
Obviously, I don't think nature has like any good skills. Like for like enviro, let's say it has like all like the worst ones.
Well, so it does have what was it, Athena's Command?
Oh yeah, it does have Thena's Command, which is probably the most.
Nature Blessing gives like HP per aura, so that could be like actually somewhat good, but
Yeah, it's
very
very.
niche.
I've tried to make Abyss work. I think if it wasn't a one time, but if it was obviously, I think maybe if you made this 3 time, it would still be broke.
Like,
It might
yeah.
be broken, but just
I think it would be like a good, because you would be getting like if you brought 3 copies of Abyss, if it was a 3 use, you would get 9 free pops, which isn't insane per se, but it's much better than the 1 use.
yeah.
Well, if you bought 3 copies of Abyss right now, you'd only get 3 free pops, which is okay.
Starting point sucks that Return to Nature exists, so you can maybe argue that something like Blessed Water or even Healing Water can maybe be C tier in certain times, just because like healing yourself to a certain point is like just generically good. You know, you obviously want to be at like full health. But
Also, it's really good for things like Hungry Demon, Bloody Ritual,
Yeah.
and Crazy. So, yeah. You were saying? Sorry, because the control.
No, I would say that's pretty much it. Like, it's like you can kind of use like you just kind of like always want to be at like high health, but sometimes that kind of doesn't matter being at high health since sometimes if your opponent dies and you try to make the pickup, it's like you can just die during the pickup. So it's kind of like not that big of a game changer.
Yeah. Honestly, it's almost like an archetypal skill
Yeah.
because it's really a skill for the people who just use a lot of life, and they know they don't want to like use all that life consistently. Like life is ammo,
Yeah.
or like a resource. But I'm sure.
So Hyper Punch and the other auto capture moves are obviously useful for like the one memory battle deck, but that's kind of it. Swift Blow is only useful for Dance of Death.
They're not that bad for bravery.
Yeah, I guess you can
For,
use
like
this in
bravery one use, yeah.
High Speed Punch is funny. I think it's just a funny move. What else? Try to think of what else. Snap, I think is pretty useless. And then Aura Leak. I feel like maybe if this was kind of like the same case where it was like what was it? It was Psycho Wave. If this was kind of like Aura Backflow, except it was just a one use. Oh wait, I just realized this is infinite use.
Yeah.
Damn.
No, it's not that good.
Yeah, I was saying never mind. I feel like if they'd kind of made this like Psycho Wave, this would probably be a bit better since
Because
what
50% of target. Oh yeah, I agree. If it was just one use and then it did 100%,
yeah.
it could be good. But like 50% is so bad, dude. If you have 10 aura, fully max aura, you're only doing 5 damage. It's like very, very harsh in how much you're doing.
I guess it makes up for the fact that it's infinite use, but it's still like just run or backflow at that point.
Yeah.
I don't
The
think- I-
two two aura that you're like saving isn't enough for how much you're doing.
Oh,
The very okay skill.
I guess I'll mention
Actually,
Splashdown.
Probably even okay.
I know some people ran this in Dance of Death, but I never understood why. I feel like if you're ever gonna run this move, it should never be in Dance of
What?
Death. Splashdown. This was like one of those like because it's technically a 2/5 that you can use in Dance of Death because like unlike Swift Blow where you're restricted to where you have to be 2 or low, this one just requires you just to kind of have it. But I still feel like it's kind of useless.
I feel like it's a backup just in case you're not getting swift blows.
I mean, you're
Like,
running,
that's
you're
why
usually gonna be
people run
running
it.
like 2 to 3 Swift Blows, which I don't think. I think you clog up way too much with that. And if you really want like a consistent melee you can use, you can just always run Hyper Kick and you do 9
Hyper
damage.
kick, yeah.
What else is there to talk about? I don't think there's anything crazy.
I mean, Soul Cage is kind of good, but it's a very specific like. So you need to get set up very quickly. So what I did was that I ran Blazing with Esper 51 and like a Tiger Strength Rian build, and all we did was just immediately rush. So while they had to dig, they would just kill themselves.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would say you could
So
definitely.
it's not because it's specifically not super good because you need to like make your deck like super ready. Like I said, Blazing, where you just are immediately ready to go. As soon as you're up, you're ready to go. But the problem is that if you don't kill them in those like few 2-3 minutes, those first 2 minutes, they are gonna most likely be able to win that late game or like mid game.
Yeah, I was going to
Because
say.
you're more stronger over early game.
I was just say another thing is that it's also just like out of all like the environments, it's kind of RNG just because sometimes you may not even get a good start and you really can't utilize this, and maybe your opponent's.
Oh yeah,
gonna-
but it's also 4 cost. Which
Yeah.
is tough.
Yeah, I was going to say I think the issue is that this can kind of be like very RNG just because sometimes your opponent may just get a good start, so they don't even care that this is down. Chaos is, you can maybe argue it's good, but at the same time, since you're in key, all your good moves and good shields are gone because of this, so it's really hard to build around. I'm trying to think, was there? You can maybe argue Scream of Evil's fine in certain decks, but it's still pretty bad. Mind reading's just mind reading. You can also argue that Thor's Hammer's pretty good in some niche decks, but eh. What was the other one? It was Sign of Saints I was trying to argue for. I can't remember. There's like a certain falling.
Yeah,
move.
Seven Saints. It was silencing.
I feel like there's another one I'm forgetting. I know it's a DLC
Maybe
one.
Demon's Venom.
Demon's Venom is
Possibly.
no. I can't remember.
It's just Silent Saints that I remember you talking about.
I remember I tried to make Demon's Venom, but the fact that it's a 4-2, holy fuck, that is like the worst stat line, like easily.
If it was 3-2, it could be a little better.
Yeah, I'll
but
say it could be kind of like the other
Still
Venom's
mid.
crawler. Yeah. Guardian Angel, kind of a meme. You can. I think.
At the one use
Oh no, it's not. It's not.
of
a
like knowing gifting someone
Oh,
or
yeah.
Guardian Angel. Well, it technically has a second use with Rise's Skywalk deck where he skywalks and then anyone
Yeah.
who hits him.
I was
is
gonna
Guardian Angel.
mention that fact that you can. I know I've seen Zemixi use this because if you are a jumper and you jump while you get hit by this, like you take the 2 damage, but you don't do the falling animation, so you can kind of set up for some like counterplay, which is very hard to do, but I guess it has its use. Necronomicon. This is like the only re-encounter in the game.
And it's in the Rian school, which is kind of weird.
So you're only gonna be really able to use, like Willow, as
Willow.
your consistent
Yeah.
move. So, yeah,
Which
it's a
is
little...
really like it's so strange. Why is the counter to the move in same with Key where Chaos is
yeah, it counters
in
the
the
entire school.
school that has the most like low cost skills. I guess they were going for the theme, but like that's stupid. First of
Yeah.
all, second of all, just move it along. It doesn't matter. Just
Yeah.
keep
I feel like this would be
the
more.
count in different
I
schools.
feel like this would be more useful if it also counted like health penalties. Like this would maybe be a more used in viral, but the fact that it doesn't even get rid of like health penalties and you still take like the 1 damage makes it even like wow. Like what's the point of that text on the? Even though I think the text is obviously misleading. I know that's been like a thing that's been mentioned. Athena's command. I mean, this is what stops lasers. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember the funny signs. But either way, it's just I don't think it's that good of an enviro compared to like the other ones that stop certain like damage thresholds.
It really only stops like spammy moves,
Yeah,
and it doesn't even stop lasers that often.
yeah, because I was saying
Just bad
I'm
laser.
pretty sure Tiger Strength literally fixes that.
And then exactly buffing.
A doppelganger. I feel like this could be used a little bit more often, but
This
it's
could be, yeah.
it's such a
be
hard
better.
read because sometimes it's literally a gamble. of
Someone will
whether-
just not run any stats at all.
Yeah, I mean everyone runs stats, but the issue is that if let's say both your opponents are on Tiger Strength,
Tiger,
then yeah.
you can only take from your partner, possibly.
I was gonna say I can't remember if you can
That's
even
guaranteed.
doppelganger your opponent. I'm pretty sure you can.
So there's a little tech that niche. If you use buffs like heat, while also having a doppel in your deck, if someone armors you and you don't have like a stat fit, you can just use doppel and doppel someone who doesn't have
Yeah.
stats, which just clears your stats.
You can maybe
So-
argue this is a C tier skill,
This
but
that case.
I think it's very hard to
It's very
use
iffy.
still.
It's very iffy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rebirth is used in that.
Honest,
It's like in one arsenal.
the top skill that you just skipped, Demon's Wing, because no, go back, page 22. Yeah, Demon's
Not
Wing.
this one.
So this one, like, you could honestly argue for a C tier, because it's actually not even that bad. Because optical camo, you're still in the same level, like elevation. Demon Swing, however, you're just floating up. The issue is that you're like skywalk, so you're very slow, rather than optical camo's normal walk. And also, apparently, I didn't know about this until recently. In one of the clips that Sharky recently hit, apparently Demon's Wing has like a very short duration where like you will randomly flash in the air and like it shows you, which is really weird because optical camo it only shows you if you like look closely.
Yeah.
While Demon's Wing, it's the same invis effect, but it's harder because usually they're in the sky, so people don't like look at it. Like not in their FOB or like, is it field of vision most of the time. But for some reason, like Kifon was using Demon's Wing. He was in the sky. He went through Sharky's like vision. Sharky didn't even see him, but he like shot him out of the air. But you can see in the clip that Chiffon like flashes for a second. Turkey said that he didn't see that when I asked him about it, but still
Weird move.
weird.
Rebirth is used for like the vicious balance deck, just because you kind of get hurt a lot, and this kind of helps with the fact because you just restored 10 health. But obviously the issue is that you go back to 0, but it obviously doesn't matter when you're just trying to stay at like 2 aura. But Mini Meter can maybe be a decent move, but eh. Same thing with like Tornado. It's kind of just meh. Let's see. Level Baton. I want to make this move work, but it just sucks. I think it would obviously be broken if it didn't have the penalty, but man.
Yeah, so it actually does have like a. If you level baton a friend who also has a level baton, and you level baton each other, you're actually duplicating aura,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny because you're only being penalized by 1. So you're actually gaining 1, like total, on each other, which is very funny. But it's really only good for if you're both doing level baton and it's like a coordinated partner arsenal to run vibe very quickly. But it's
Yeah.
just better if you use level berserk.
Yeah, I was
Like,
saying,
really?
you either use level berserk, you can even maybe make this an argument that one person runs psycho burst and you kind of run around trying to level baton people, but it's still pretty bad.
Okay, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Just
Unison,
quantum, man.
probably the best enviro in the game. Not much else that needs to be said. Vacuum bullet's just funny, and then play dead's also just funny. You can maybe argue that traveling thought's a good move, but the fact that not only is it timed, it's like the only like enviro that gives you stats and it's timed. But you know, homing isn't that like crazy of a skill as we mentioned before.
Yeah. Traveling thought is pretty good though, I would say.
Yeah.
It could be argued that it's a C tier because it kind of helps. So it alleviates the one issue that, or like the biggest issue with homing acquisition, being that you need multiple of it for it to actually like take effect. Well, traveling thought, though it is limited, like it's a 1 minute, it does actually remedy that because at 50% it is pretty noticeable. You'll see that rock shot starts like cracking in mid-air. Fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I think it could be a C tier.
I personally wouldn't, just because I think if it didn't have the 1 minute time limit, it would be better, but yeah.
Yeah.
Phantom Dust is Phantom Dust. Mobilize is also one of those weird skills that you can kind of make work, but it's very hard to like make work because there's
Yeah,
there's
where you like dance
there's
with death.
technically yeah, I'd say there's technically that touch
Yeah.
and death combo, but it's super hard to do.
And
Maybe-
people can counter it too.
Yeah.
L bomb.
L-Bomb is
Yeah,
C, but for whatever reason it's glitched, so that was supposed
Yeah.
to be the C tier. This is just a like it's like even though you can argue it's pretty bad, but the thing is that it's a good fake out tool and like Opti and
It has the
particle
same startup, sound, and animation as
as vibe.
and eventually even model as Vibe Blaster.
Yeah. So you can kind of use it to great effects. It's also just a combo tool at the end of the day as well. It's just kind of like Willow. So we can be using that scenario. Then we got the last page, which I don't think there's anything to talk about except for maybe martial arts school, but I think that's going to be it for the video. Obviously, if you...
cool.
Oh wait, was
I
it Wings of
tried
Hope?
making
I feel like... Oh, I forgot Wings of Hope was the thing. Okay, I still
So-
can't remember that one fall skill. I already forgot, man. I'm mad.
Arrow of Artemis, maybe?
I can't remember. Maybe it was Sign of Saints and I'm just stupid.
Okay, so Wings of Hope, I actually have something to say about.
Yeah.
I use that a lot, and I would argue that it isn't that good. But when you're running like Bloody Ritual or like Hungry Demon, and you're very low, like because you've been using it a lot, but you get to use it and then use Wings of Hope, because Wings of Hope has fucking crazy homing, by the way.
Yeah.
If you shoot it, gain that back, you're just able to shoot more. Like it's not that much that you're shooting more, because if you hit one Wings of Hope, you're only getting one Bloody Ritual back. If you hit one Wings of Hope, you're only getting 3 Hungry Demons back, which is actually pretty good, but still. You're already gonna be super low, so. But it's actually not that bad. You can recycle with Hungry Demon and Bloody Ritual, you can recycle Wings of Hope a lot.
Yeah. Well, I think
But I guess that's it.
yeah, so I'll end the tier list. Obviously, leave down in the comments below on whether you agree with our positions and all that. It's a little bit iffy to kind of like make a tier list with this game just because there's definitely a good amount of skills that obviously have their use case, but obviously we're trying to look at like the most competitive like standpoint. So with that, goodbye.